I was both really looking forward to and dreading Veronica Checks Out. This is the 22nd and final episode in the third season, which is the final season, and it's pretty great. I was very keen to see how they would conclude the show, and I will talk about that in more detail in a moment. So there will be spoilers from now, big spoilers, as I talk about various things, including one thing that was revealed that I did not see coming. I was obviously very excited about that, but also I was dreading it because it's the final episode, and I've really thoroughly enjoyed this. I've watched one episode a week, I think every single week, since early last year. And thankfully, I'm hopping straight into Kirstie Alley's big life after this. So I still have more Kirstie Alley to enjoy, but this is going to leave a little hole in my heart because I have really thoroughly enjoyed it. Thankfully, though, we are finishing off on a great episode. And as I said, there are spoilers from now, and I think the best way to discuss this and share my thoughts is to go through each of the main characters and talk about their role in this episode, their involvement, and how I felt with the conclusion for that character. And the easiest one to start with, although he's in quite a complicated situation, is Leo. And this is because Josh is in a relationship with Bree, and it's time for Josh to meet Bree's parents. He's told his parents he is gay, but he hasn't told his parents that Josh is white. So they determined the best solution to this is for Leo, who is of course black, to pretend to be Josh. And I have to say, Leo's performance was fantastic. His response to foliage, I absolutely loved. And it was just so adorable, and I love how by the end of the episode he decided he was going to go and see the foliage himself on the bus, which was just really sweet. So Leo may have not had a really brilliant finale in terms of his narrative, his situation, but what he brought to this was still really great. And of course, Josh does actually introduce himself to Bree's parents, and their response was, of course, really great, and they welcomed him, and that's exactly how it should have been. So I think everything has wrapped up really nicely for Josh as well. We then have Olive and June, but I will actually come back to those because they're my favourite part. The other part of the narrative focuses on Veronica and Perry and the fact that they are dating. And Olive actually says to Veronica, you can't date him. Yes, you've slept with him, but you can't date him. He works for you. It's going to make things really unclear. And Veronica's not listening to that. She doesn't care. And honestly, I was really surprised it took this direction because I thought it would be they sleep together and then that's it. And then things are awkward between them. But I'm really glad that actually things are really great between them. And they end the episode on a really positive note. I'll be honest, had the show continued for another season, I either think, A, they wouldn't have explored this, and I'm assuming they knew that this was going to be the final episode because otherwise a lot of big things are happening, and I feel like they wouldn't have actually explored Veronica and Perry for another season unless perhaps they were going to write Perry out of the show, which I wouldn't want them to do, but I don't think it's a sustainable relationship within the context of the show. But because it's the final, I actually thought it was kind of sweet and kind of nice. So really great ending for Perry and Veronica. I wasn't that bothered about the scenes where Veronica was dating somebody else, a guy who was obsessed with his small hands, and I didn't care for those scenes. They weren't bad. I just wasn't that bothered about them. But the rest of this with Veronica, there's one adorable moment where she's sitting in her office twiddling a flower, and she's beaming with happiness, and it's so beautiful. So a nice way to conclude Veronica and Perry. Then we come to Olive and June, and June was the biggest surprise in this episode. Olive has come to Veronica's closet, and she's still very wealthy. I did wonder if when she became really wealthy, a millionaire, a couple of episodes back, I wondered if that would fall through. And that was something that investor or that buyer, I guess, completely pulled out of. But no, it's the way things went. And again, had this not been the season finale, I think they would have taken a different direction with that. And the fact that she was in Veronica's closet gave her an excuse to be there. The finale wouldn't have been good without Kathy and Najimy. So Olive's involvement in this was brilliant, and the fact that she's now very rich, she was able to buy June's share of the company, which I didn't see coming, but it makes perfect sense. And I thought that was a really brilliant thing. And I kind of, well, for many reasons, I wish there was another season, but I'd be keen to find out what would happen next with Veronica and Olive co-owning the company. I think that would have been really beautiful. And of course, June does agree to this sale. She asks for double what Olive was offering, but she gets the money. And then she shares the information that I was not expecting. And for me, this was the most, honestly, the best moment in the entire finale. I just thought it was incredible. And maybe to other people, this was really obvious. But to me, it was not. And this is the fact that Olive tells June that she was impressed with the way she was thinking. And June indicated that this is something she's capable of. She's got a very sharp mind that's capable of getting the best out of any situation. And she implies that she pushed Alec into the volcano. What? I did not see that coming. She dated him for 2 days, obviously was aware that he had a lot of money, and killed him for his money after marrying him. It makes perfect sense when I say it out loud. That's a really gripping, compelling narrative. June is not the character we thought she was for the past however many episodes, and it's a really dark way to end June's involvement in the story. So, impressed. I would love to know who came up with that. I imagine that it was something they came up with for the finale, but maybe it's something that at least one writer had in mind from the beginning, and they had this dark backstory for June that they just didn't tell us until they had no other option but to tell us in the finale. And I'm impressed. Very, very impressed. Really, really strong way to conclude that character's story. It's a brilliant episode. It's very funny in certain ways, very meaningful in others, and I'm really, really going to miss the show. I know I can watch it again, and I definitely will at some point. But to have been watching this every week for more than a year, the first time as well, I hadn't seen it before. So it's been a really beautiful journey. And Veronica Checks Out is a really wonderful episode and a really great way to end the show.